If you don't have a lot of space in your game room and you just want to play your old school games on the HD television, yeah, maybe this old school classic HD2 can maybe be a very cool solution for you. It's the time for Pick It From China. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in, but in this video I just wanted to take a close look at this duo player. Is this thing any good, or is it something you should avoid? Take consideration, these things are not based on FPGA or something like that. I just wanted to check it out for you, just how good is this, and yeah, again, is it worth your money? So I really love these HD devices. If you just want to play some old school games, but you don't have like all the hassle and all the cabling and of course an old school television, you just want to have like a super easy solution. The question remains, is this thing any good? Time for old school fun. Let's see about that. So inside the package we're going to get everything that we're going to need, even including some controllers. So yeah, the weird thing is, like, we do get exactly like one Famicom and one Super Famicom controller, or actually like the ones made for Classic or this Classic system. And then of course we're going to get a power supply. The power supply feels kind of light and very cheap. This is a 5 volt, so not going to be a hassle if you need to replace it with another one. Then of course we're having the product itself. Yeah, I must say that I did review a couple of these things back in the day, and the performance were overall okay. So they have a very interesting way how you need to switch the games, and not with the Nintendo Switch, but with this Classic, or this ClassiQ with a Q HD2. Then we're having over here, when you're sliding it up, it says NES, and of course NES when you're sliding it down. Reset, we do have like 2 cartridge slots, of course. Underneath we do have like a region switch, so that's pretty damn cool. So if you wanted to basically play every single game, we're going to test it out. And then at the back we're going to get ourselves the express ratio option, the input micro USB, this is going to be like 5 volt, the old school AV out if you want to plug it into a CRT, and then of course the HD connection. The overall design is quite interesting. I really love the round shapes, and another thing I really find cool, that we have every single port at the front. You're thinking, yeah, well, but is it so special? Yeah, there wasn't even console data having one on the side. Yeah, that's kind of weird. But it also includes everything that we're going to need. The USB cable, the AV cable, and of course the HDMI. And yep, a deluxe toilet paper manual, the Classic HD. Let's see what we're going to find on the inside. It just shows you how you need to connect it. And yeah, there is nothing special in here, to be honest. Just some basic stuff they can figure out yourself. But let's talk about the controllers. To begin with, the NES. So the NES controller is a very interesting design. Another very cool extra feature we're getting is just a round shape. And you're thinking, yeah, but what is so special about it? Like the original NES controller were so square and very uncomfortable, especially nowadays. And yeah, the overall quality, it's okay. You don't have like the rubberized, let's say, select and start, just the AB, no turbo function. The D-pad does have like a very nice angle, but the touch overall feels kind of cheap and clicky. I really love the design. It plays a little bit more comfortable. Oh, and not to forget, yep, smells chemical. Not super chemical, but chemical. But let's take a close look at the Super NES controller. So this thing looks more legit to the original one. And what do I mean with the original one? So where the NES is just an, let's say, in custom edition, this one does have like a very cool look to it. It's slightly different, where I can still remember the original one was flat at the back. We do have like a very nice curve. Makes this thing, yeah, let's say more comfortable to play, because you can lay your fingers underneath. So they did improve the NES, or yeah, basically they improved both of them. But the overall quality, yeah, like the D-pad, I don't like the touch of it. Just the way how it sounds. Rubber select start, that's pretty damn cool. And the buttons, the weird thing is, when you're looking at the angle, everything, but they do feel very nice. And of course, not to forget, we have the original LNR, but also the LNR have a different feel to it. So the overall quality, especially when you're looking at the L, oh, horrible. The first thing I wanted to try out, just to see what happens if you're going to turn it on and off. Now you're thinking, why is that? Some of these clone systems can contain games. Yep, they are naughty. But this time they didn't. There is no adapter with the system, but we can not play Famicom games, by the way. It's just old school NES games, like the ones I grew up with. Okay, so let's start off with some NES. That is what we're going to do. The first thing I want to try, how does it work when it comes to a multi-game card? Whew. Man, oh man. Alright, so the first game I just want to try is a Super Mario Bros. But everything sounds completely messed up. Another thing is also like when you're looking at the colors of the game, it's not like it's supposed to be. So the NES part is not great when it comes to playing some old school games. Everything sounds so weird. So the next thing I want to do is not using this cartridge. Let's take a close look at this weird version I'm laying around. And I did notice like we do have like different results, even messing around with the region switch. Now it sounds way better. I've been messing around with the switch underneath, but it doesn't do anything at all. Of course the sound is still different in my opinion. But it doesn't sound that turbo and fast. I completely messed up with that one. Oh, absolutely. I just wanted to try a different game, simply because I didn't get the multi-card or other products to get to work on this device. Kind of weird, to be honest. None of them, like the multi-card didn't boot up, also the flash card didn't boot up. But if you don't want to be like super critical when it comes to, let's say, playing some games, I think it's a very funny way to play in HD on your television. I personally don't notice any input lag whatsoever. So the single cartridges, or the single game cartridges seems to be working. Or at least this one, this Codemaster game MiG-29, yeah, it's more like a different story. It always gives me problems, so I'm not going to mention that too much. But Kirby also worked, but when we're going to get into the flash cards and the multi-game cards. So the flash card didn't boot up at all, and the NES did like, I did like a couple of times, but did it like, I think the only one time that didn't even show anything was like a messed up screen. Alright, so let's get rid of the NES part. Have been playing around enough with that. So let's get into the Super NES part. Let's try flash card, American game, this Famicom one, multi-game cards, and of course the Super Game Boy. And let's see what is going to be happening, if this is going to be working. Don't need the color game. The first one has already been entered, and that is Star Wing. Let's take a close look at that one first. And if you want to try to boot up the game with the NES controller, that is not going to be working. So let's plug that one out. Let's get ourselves the Super NES controller. And let's get funky. Let's take a close look at its aspect ratio. That seems to be working without any problem whatsoever. Okay, so let's play the game. And let's see if it actually works. The next item I want to try out is the Wario Land 2 game of the Game Boy Classic into the Super Game Boy. I really love it that they changed everything out. That looks pretty damn cool. I've played this game so much. But the thing is, like, I can really enjoy this, you know. It's absolutely great. Next up, I just wanted to see if the multi-card has been supported by the system, and also this seems to be working fine. I think it's a very cool thing to do if you just want to have multiple games on one cartridge. It's super easy to bring with you. And again, it's just cool. But that's the question, can we use a flash card? And yup, also the EverDrive or the flash card from AliExpress, the Super Plus 108 out of the one, seems to be working just fine. A system I just wanted to try out with the Super Retro games was this particular one, but unfortunately it doesn't support it. This is, by the way, let's turn it off, this by the way in cartridge, that wasn't like, you can just buy it, it's just going to get you with the, let's say, Super NES HD version, but sometimes it seems to be working on other systems too. I just wanted to check out Fatal Fury from the US part, and yeah, also this seems to be working just fine. So it's pretty damn cool to see, like, it doesn't matter what kind of game you're going to slap into the machine, it actually works. And in my opinion, that's very cool. So there are like a couple of regions that are like really dirty cheap nowadays, as making this video to get for your collection. I just needed to show you this, and the reason why, because sometimes it does happen that it's going to be like messed up. The thing that we need to do is turn it around. This time I'm going to set it to the different region. Let's power it on, and let's see what happens now. If I'm seeing it correctly, everything should be like it normally is. So that's one thing you need to take consideration. That's something that will happen if you have a different region and you don't switch the Switch, and not the Nintendo Switch, but just the Switch. You're going to have an issue. Well, let's play a little bit. Where I'm a little bit disappointed with the NES part, I really like the Super NES part. So it does play basically so far. I have tested all of the games. Yep, I don't have like expensive Mega Man's one. I should like test them out like later on. But so far I know most of the chips seem to be working just fine. Yeah, this is not the one with a chip, but you're getting the point. So let's move on to the teardown. Well, let's open up this bad boy and let's see what are we going to get actually in the inside. Yeah, I'm very happy that I don't need to remove the rubbery feet, because that's most of the cases when you're going to open up these things. But you have like a separate, let's say, separate compartment for the screws. And of course, we broke the seal. Alright, so let's open it up and let's see if it's going to be opening it up. Oof, I always need to be very gentle with this, because there's a ribbon cable. Yep. Alright, so that is one massive mainboard, if you ask me. So I have seen like a lot of, let's say, knockoff systems or clones, whatever. The thing is, like, mostly we have like tiny PCBs, mostly like surrounding the connectors. But this is one big bad boy. So we do see like there isn't tiny, let's say gap between this. I'm guessing it's not like one PCB. I think this is a tiny separate one for the NES part. So there's also like a lot of capacitors in here. That's something you don't see very often. The weird thing I'm seeing is like when you're looking at the capacitors, man, they're placed very strangely in combination with this part. Micro switch over here for the reset, on and off. The way how they made this, yeah, I would say like it's kind of weird in some parts. For example, over here we're having some weirdness going on. So they even like added some hot glue. I don't know if this is even holding something in place. But you know, like when you're looking at the capacitors, everything, it's an interesting way. Also, this one is laying over here. No idea why this is, because there is, I think there is like some, yeah, I think there isn't any, let's say, space, because we do have the plastic going around the connectors. There is a ribbon cable coming from the bottom part over here. That's basically for the on and off switch, where we're having a separate PCB in here. But that's also the reason why this thing has such a big weight to it, because there is actually like a lot of stuff going on the inside. So the front part over here you can see is they're having, I think it's a label of 2017. And when you're looking at the other part, this is 2020. So I'm guessing the PCB has been like created later on, 3 years newer than the front part, because maybe they already used it for a previous model. But in the inside we're going to find ourselves a couple of chips. For example, over here we're having the TCT 978, and here the TCT 976 and the TCT 975. So this configuration is nothing new. We have seen it many times before. So what I understand of basically what you're going to get is some emulation. That's basically what this is based on. The only thing I found quite interesting, but also strange, that we couldn't get that NES, Super NES, or the NES games on the Super NES, or like the Multigame card to work, because they have the same configuration when it comes to the chip that we have seen before, also with the original Super NES HD. So the inside, it's all, so far I understand, per emulation, and it's the same stuff that we have seen many times before. Another thing I wanted to try out is the AV out, but just do something wicked and combine it with the HDMI, so we can use it like dual monitor setup. How cool would it be if you can just boot it up with an HDMI inside an LCD, or just use a CRT. Here I'm not using really a CRT, but just for example, I'm just going to grab myself like the second monitor. That makes me wonder what happens if I'm going to plug out the HDMI cable. Do I going to get any signal on the AV out? Yep, there it goes. So it automatically goes into AV out mode if you plug out the HDMI. Let's do it the other way around. Let's plug this bad boy in. And let me guess, now it goes to the HDMI. Yep, there it goes. Yep. But the overall AV quality is what you expect when it comes to, let's say, an AV out. But it's just going to be honest, like, it's not super bad quality. But if you just want to enjoy some retro games, you don't want to have all the hassle getting your original system out of the closet or buy one back, this is maybe one of those cool solutions. The downside I find is like the controller, like the D-pad and the overall control of the Super NES, it's not like the original quality. It's, I would say it's acceptable, but when it comes to this one, like the NES, oh man, I think it's not great at all, but that's my personal opinion, of course. Yeah, when it comes to the overall performance, I must say it's pretty damn cool to have an AV HD, and of course we're having the option to aspect ratio, everything that I always wish to have like in a system like this. Let me know in the comments what do you think. Thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and it would be great to see you in the next video.